What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday, a big rumor started to make the rounds online with a couple of different places even backing it up, and this has to do with a new Donkey Kong game being announced for the Switch here soon, and we'll go over all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about some comments from Sega around Atlus's releases going forward with multi-platform and worldwide releases, as well as a possible reveal for a big Sonic game here coming up soon. And we're also going to be talking about the new firmware that released on the Switch, because it does feel like Nintendo is building up to something right now. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with Scarlett Nexus. It's out in June, and I'm looking forward to it. From the trailers they've shown, it looks pretty fun and interesting enough, but it looks like we'll be able to try out the game a bit earlier than we anticipated. We can see this tweet here, this from Scarlett Nexus's account, saying, "Demo sequence updated. Play the demo first on Xbox when it arrives May 21st. Are you ready to connect?" And it does appear like it's also going to be going to the PlayStation, I would assume here. It's just going to the Xbox first, and I feel like it's pretty obvious. Some people are asking why that is. Well, it looks like we have a deal between Bandai and Microsoft has the marketing for this game, so naturally they would look into the demo and see if they can get it on Xbox first. That way they can continue pushing this game as more of an Xbox kind of release, even though it's coming out on other platforms. Either way, though, it's good to see a demo come out for this game so we get a chance to try it out ahead of release. So keep an eye out for that one later on this month, and then we'll see when it also pops up for the PlayStation afterwards. Speaking of the PlayStation, we had a ton of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart previews land yesterday online, where the press had hands-off demo impressions, where it appears they were kind of just watching gameplay being done in front of them, and they were taking notes and asking questions. And I've actually been in one of those before for a different game, so I kind of understand how that works. It is a bit strange, though. You kind of sit there and watch the game being played. It's much better, obviously, if you can go to like just an overall press event and sit down with the controller, but it's a bit harder now, obviously, with everything going on. Nonetheless, though, we had some really cool footage for this game, and I think one of the better previews that I watched was from Easy Ally, so I'm going to recommend that one for you to check out. And some of the set pieces that were shown are super impressive. I mean, the biggest thing here are the visuals are really good looking for this game. I mean, they do a thing where it goes from like cutscene to gameplay, and it all looks the same, but if you kind of go through and you see some big time events that are happening, it is really like, wow, okay, this is indeed next gen. And again, we've been waiting kind of for that title to hit that shows off what the PlayStation 5, or obviously even in the Series X, can do, but this looks to be the one. So again, this is probably the big game that's going to push people towards the PlayStation 5 if they have not already thought about getting one, because the more they show, the better it keeps looking. Insomniac is on a roll right now. Oh, and if you're someone who's been looking for an Xbox Series S or an Xbox Series X and just not having any luck at retail, it does look like Microsoft is at least trying to figure out a way to get it to you specifically, rather than scalpers and resellers who keep grabbing them when they go up for sale on places like Walmart or Best Buy. We can see this tweet here. This from Xbox Insider saying, "Today we're introducing the console purchase pilot, allowing US Xbox insiders on Xbox One to register for a chance to reserve an Xbox Series X and S console. Check the Xbox Insider Hub on Xbox One for details. Limited spaces available, and not all who register will be selected." And I remember months ago, Phil Spencer had mentioned that he thought the whole pre-order system right now, leading up to the console launch, was like outdated or archaic, and it does make more sense to go through the previous console with your own account through like Xbox Live and reserve a spot to buy the next generation system, and then they just deliver it to your house, whether it's through the mail or UPS or FedEx or whatever. It's just, they send them the retail, and then we see these retailers do their best, but they don't care. They just kind of throw them up there. Whoever buys them, buys them. Sony and Microsoft certainly would rather get you, someone who's going to play these different games or subscribe to Game Pass, the system, rather than someone who's going to maybe put it in like their living room and just wait for someone on eBay to click the buy button for twice the price. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with this big rumor that was circulating yesterday around a new Donkey Kong game that is slated to be announced at some point in the future for the Switch. And we did have Tropical Freeze, of course. That was the last one from Retro Studios. Awesome game. They even brought it over to the Switch, where it went on to sell pretty well, I would say, overall, even being $10 more than what it was on the Wii U. But that game is very, very good. So I'm looking forward to what Nintendo does with this series now that it is going to Nintendo to be developed internally. It does not appear to be something that's going to be worked on at Retro Studios. Should be obvious since they are currently working on Metroid Prime 4. I'm sure they have their hands full with that one, but let's head over to Nintendo Life, as they did cover this rumor in a couple of different places it was coming from, which does actually include Nintendo Life as well. The first tweet that was pointed out was from Lonely Goomba, who says, "I heard an unlikely rumor that the Mario Odyssey team are working on a 3D Donkey Kong game. I think I would actually prefer that to another 3D Mario." To go on a little further, we also have Nintendo Life chiming in saying, YouTuber Lonely Goomba has mentioned the rumor in passing on social media. Other sources have also discussed it, but Nintendo Life can confirm that it has heard the same rumor from an independent and very trusted source, which would appear to lend this report some degree of legitimacy. However, our source claims that the game will be 2D or 2.5D if you prefer, and not 3D. And then to go a bit further, they also quote Zippo here, who says, "It's the Big Ape's 40th anniversary. While I'm not sure how Nintendo is celebrating the occasion, there is a new 2D DK game being developed by EPD Tokyo." And a lot of people are looking at this and saying, well, wait a minute, that would be the team that did Mario Odyssey. I mean, that's exciting because, well, Mario Odyssey is a very good 3D Mario game, and that's probably where a lot of people are thinking this could be a 3D Donkey Kong game. And you know what? I would much prefer it to be a 3D game if parts even of the team for Mario Odyssey are working on it. But I'll tell you this now, it does sound like they'll say it is going to be a 2D. A 2.5D is probably a better way to describe it. Look, it's not surprising to hear this rumor come back up because we are, of course, coming up on E3 when a lot of people are thinking, hey, wait, is that when they're going to announce it? I'm not sure, to be honest. And the biggest thing here is a lot of times these rumors pop up and people try to kind of time this out and say, oh, E3 makes a lot of sense, when in reality, this could be something that Nintendo saves for a fall direct or even like an early 2022 direct, considering they're going to want all eyes on the Legend of Zelda series this year with the big anniversary for that, and obviously Breath of the Wild 2, which all of us assume is going to try to be there for the holiday season. But I do think something like a 2.5D Donkey Kong game would be a really cool thing to release even around Breath of the Wild 2, kind of like that supplementary release, like something in October if we say Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out in November, to kind of keep that momentum going where they have a release every single month to kind of finish up 2021 to work to push the Switch past the Wii. But I will tell you this here, this does appear to be something going on right now, a new DK game. Shouldn't really surprise anyone because like we've seen some okay sales from the series, and I don't necessarily think it costs like a ton of money for Nintendo to make these 2D or 2.5D Donkey Kong games. Nothing like we see with, say, a Mario Odyssey or a Breath of the Wild 2. So look forward to this, but I'm going to tell you this now, don't necessarily completely expect it to be announced at E3 because it is something that could still be a ways off, I'll say. Next up, let's talk about Sega and some of their plans going forward for Atlas and some of their releases, as well as maybe an announcement for Sonic. And we also have a poll running from yesterday about Sonic that we're going to go over a little later on in the show. But let's head over here because this was actually posted up from an interview, this with Shuji Itsumi, where they were asked specifically at first about the success of Yakuza Like a Dragon and how when that game came out, it really helped that it was a big worldwide release and ended up being the most successful release for the Yakuza series. So obviously they wanted to go a bit further here, and they asked whether the Persona series, etc., also aims to be a worldwide release. In response, a simultaneous worldwide release on multiple platforms will be a tailwind for titles. Of course, we will adjust to the title, but we also want to be aware of the global expansion of Atlas titles. And obviously a lot of people are now thinking, wait a minute, does that mean that Persona, which has been known as a PlayStation-only series, specifically that mainline one, could that actually end up going to other platforms? And I'm kind of thinking it will, only because if you think about it, like Sega, unless they really are tied in with Sony in some way, and they very well could be because we've seen Sony continue to put out tons of money to retain these third-party games on PlayStation 5, like we've seen with Final Fantasy 16, but the idea of the game not releasing on the PlayStation and also on PC, like we're seeing with Final Fantasy 16, and the growth behind the Persona series after Persona 5, it doesn't make any sense otherwise for Sega not to explore other platforms, even with like the legacy games they have. With Persona 4 Golden, that released on Steam, did very well. That game should be everywhere they can put it, especially even on like the PlayStation 4. It's not even there, and then backwards compatible for the PS5. It is a strange situation with Sega and Atlus, and that also goes for anything for Shin Megami Tensei. I'm sure Nintendo is, of course, involved with that in terms of publishing and this, but still, they need to think of the future for all of their franchises that certainly could do better if we didn't have one game over here with this platform, this game over here with that platform. If it was like, okay, we're going to release these and release them worldwide all at the same time as they saw success with Yakuza, we could see Sega really blow up in terms of sales overall. Now, there was also mention of a new Sonic game, or they said work, which is coming up soon. They say there are not many people who can make global hit titles, if not successful on a global scale. Ask there is also devoted to the big title development. It is difficult to make a profit. May announcement of Sonic new work is near. This is all done through translations with Google, so we did our best here. But essentially, hey, we're coming up on E3. Sega will be at E3. Do you think there's going to be a new Sonic game announced there? I would actually bet money on that. I think Sonic will show up because we technically should already know about the Sonic game in some way, whether it was through like a teaser trailer or something before a big reveal. It did sound like they were ready to show us, or going to be ready to show us this Sonic game like months ago to kind of get ready for Sonic's anniversary throughout this year. Remember, they were going to do like monthly updates, and I think the first one was like wallpapers for your phone, and that was kind of it. COVID really did hurt Sega in general when it comes to development of their games. They already told investors that, like, look, half of our projects have been badly delayed due to the remote work and the pandemic. So I feel like E3 is going to be a time for them to show back up with Sonic. Which Sonic game? That's the question. That was actually part of that poll that we're going to check out here pretty soon. Next up, let's talk about Sony and the PlayStation 5, along with, I guess, games we can look forward to for this system. We just talked about Ratchet and Clank, but obviously there's like a whole other half of the year to look forward to, and then we're going into 2022 for the PlayStation 5. As they're working, of course, to put more and more consoles out there, we also have to look at the software side of things. And there was a very interesting article that popped up with Wired that shows quite the future for Sony and the PlayStation 5. We can head over here where it says, according to Herman Holst, a Guerrilla co-founder whom Jim Ryan tapped to lead PlayStation Studios in 2019, the group has more than 25 titles in development for the PS5, nearly half of which are entirely new IP. Says there's an incredible amount of variety originating from different regions, big, small, different genres, and in many of those cases, Sony's shared services became a lifeline for studios navigating lockdown, having moved all of its employees home in early 2020. They go on further to say that they actually shipped out like recording booths to different people so they could record audio, even having to build up a facility where they could do motion capture with correct hygiene and different things in place to make sure that they were able to do it safely. And a lot of that has to do with them moving forward and having Horizon Forbidden West ready for this year as they work to confirm that even further here in this article. So anyone concerned that Horizon could end up falling to next year, it does look like they have basically locked things in internally to make sure that game finds its way out in 2021 for the PS5. Now, I really like to hear that, yes, they have 25 different games, half of which I guess they're going to be new IPs, which we like to think are going to be these really cool, interesting new experiences. The thing with the Sony brand and the PlayStation, people point out, hey, a lot of them are like these third-person, over-the-shoulders, cinematic-style games. And yeah, they tend to be that way, and I like to believe here that they are saying, hey, we know there was that article that came up at one point that mentioned from like Jason Schreier that we were kind of stifling creativity and we were only focusing on these couple of big blockbuster games that cost a ton of money, having 25 different titles that they appear to be investing in, half of which being new IPs, could be, hey, we're gonna also have some smaller titles that a lot of you are asking for, and there'll be newer, different experiences. And it's good to hear at least that we do have quite a bit to look forward to. Now, some of these projects could be way off in the distance, but it does look like they're at least lining themselves up for several releases each year, big and small, going forward to at least get the generation rolling. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about that Nintendo Switch firmware update that did drop, and you might have just downloaded it, noticed nothing changed, and kind of went about your day. And that's because on the surface, nothing really changed. It was just like, oh, stability patch. So there we go. Go ahead and insert your best stability joke down below in the comments for that one. But it does look like some things did once again change under the hood, which is something that seems to be kind of a theme recently with these different updates. We can see this from Oatmeal Dome, who says firmware version 12.0.2 has been released. Official patch notes state stability as sole change. The following things have actually been changed, however. Core system components, Bluetooth driver, which we see that Bluetooth driver popping up a lot with these different updates for changes. Something interesting to think about there. Application manager, and probably some minor bug fixes. But core system components, Bluetooth driver, application manager, and this again is like a running theme for these updates. It does feel like Nintendo is kind of preparing for something. It could be a game. I mean, who knows? They randomly showed up with Labo, or they randomly showed up with a Ring Fit Adventure style thing. Maybe they are doing updates to prepare for another one of these strange items or strange product releases that they want to do. Or as some people are saying online, hey, maybe they're just kind of prepping things at the OS level and for firmware for us to eventually see some sort of revision comes out. I know everything seems to come back to this revision. It's just odd that we're getting all these updates and nothing's really changing at a surface level. Now, these could also be going into play so that they can work to, again, smooth out bug fixes and things that they have noticed, especially through like their HackerOne program, where things will be submitted and they'll be like, okay, we do kind of have to fix that. Let's push this update. And they could also be working towards a big substantial update rather than try to push it all at once, make these minor bug fixes and alterations as they work towards that release. Here's hoping, because yeah, it'd be pretty cool to have folders or themes or, I don't know, anything really. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, which Sonic game would you rather see announced at E3? 21% of you said Sonic Mania 2, 44% of you said Sonic Adventure 3, and then 35% of you said neither. I've never been into the Sonic games, but 44% said Sonic Adventure 3. And you know, I think a lot of people just want to get that really good 3D Sonic game where Sega releases it and it just knocks it out of the park. Like, it's just overall critically acclaimed, and maybe they do need that title, that Sonic Adventure 3 that flashes on screen to get people really hyped, but then they also have to deliver. I mean, they could put the title there, but then it also just ends up being another Sonic Forces style game that underwhelms heavily. So if they're ready to use that title, that Sonic Adventure 3, here's hoping they're ready to put up that kind of a game. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Old Man PJ saying, I wouldn't be surprised to see Microsoft acquire Valve, but I would rather see Valve launch a streaming service for our existing libraries for a monthly fee. I mean, I'm sure that's very possible. And it does appear that Gabe Newell and Phil Spencer have been having meetings. Hard to say what that is about. I mean, there's a number of things. There have been rumors about Game Pass showing up on Steam as a subscription service through Steam, like you're kind of saying here. But obviously you'd be subscribing to Game Pass, not necessarily to Steam for something they might have planned for a streaming service. Or the rumor about Microsoft buying Valve has been ongoing for so long, and they probably could buy them. It would be a massive purchase, and it'd be something to see in the gaming space. And I feel like there'd be a lot of people who would not be happy about that, because that would just be Microsoft basically absorbing Steam. And then you're like, oh, well, wait, does that mean I now have to use the Windows Store if I want to buy anything through Steam? How's all this going to work? I think this could be, however, maybe a publishing deal to bring some of their games, or maybe new games, like maybe a new Left 4 Dead or something, who knows there, to the Xbox. They've done it before with the 360 with Left 4 Dead back in the day, and like Orange Box, and eventually that went to PlayStation. But like, those are kind of the things I'm thinking of, is Phil Spencer talking with Gabe Newell of getting some of their Valve games or projects that are in the works and making sure they also launch on the Xbox alongside a PC. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button or layups out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. There's the rumor about a new Donkey Kong game being announced for the Switch, whether it's a 2D or a 3D Donkey Kong game. Let me know what you would like to see from that. And then also, what about Sega and a new 3D Sonic game? Do you think they can finally make a really good one? And do you think they'll use that Sonic Adventure title? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.